The New York Jets can run the football. We know that. The passing offense, not so hot in this one with the first teamers. And we are starting to see the picture of roster battles start to clear up a little bit with this team as they finish with a loss to the New York Giants in the Snoopy Bowl. So, first team offense goes out there, run the ball very effectively. They're getting well over 4 yards per clip. Brees Hall, still waiting for that sign that Brees has that juice back in his legs. But he pretty much got the yards that were blocked for him, and not much more than that. Braylon's still running hard. No Isaiah Davis in this one. Fields took off up the middle, slid down, picked up 8 yards on his own. So 2 possessions and 60 yards of rushing offense with plus efficiency. So good. Check. Rushing offense. Passing offense, bad. 1 for 4. Fields was on the day for 4 yards. There was a incomplete pass to Brees Hall where Membu got cooked by Thibodeau. Fields under pressure right away. Threw it over the head of Brees Hall. There was a comeback to Garrett Wilson, which, I mean, it was pretty, for the most part, both sides. It was one of the most lax officiated game in the secondary I've seen in the NFL for a long time. So that's cool. No complaints as a fan with that in general. But yeah, definitely defensive pass interference on that one. And then there was another one where it was a slant to Garrett Wilson. Pretty good coverage, and the ball was behind him. So you're talking a botched assignment, a couple of bad throws, and just nothing much on the offensive side of the ball. A couple of good plays by the Giants. It was 3rd and 2. You have to wonder, in a regular season game, would the Jets run that ball? The Giants did stack the box. They got a one-on-one matchup with the slant to Wilson, and they were not able to connect there. Also, a screen pass to Garrett Wilson that just was dirted by Fields. So all in all, first team offense, not a great showing, particularly the passing offense, but this team is going to be able to run the ball. That's not really the question. Even if you say, oh, well, the teams are going to stack the box. Yeah, well, the Bears had the number 1 rush yards per attempt and number 6 rush yards per attempt in 22 and 23 with Fields as their quarterback, because when he averages 6 yards per attempt and he's a big part of your rushing offense is going to be fine. That's not the issue. The issue is, can you get the passing offense to not be bottom 10? It's not going to be top 10. It's not going to be average. And that's not because of tonight. It's because we've had the roster for 3 months. This passing offense will not be average. Can it not be horrible? If it cannot be horrible, the Jets have a chance. So I was hoping to see, honestly, more of the first team offense. Like, dude, go back out there, man. That's what Brian Dable did. Go back out there, boys. I didn't like what I was seeing. Since, I would have liked to see more than 4 passes completed by the first team offense in the totality of this preseason, but it is what it is. They probably won't play their starters in the final preseason affair. On to the first team defense. It was really a story of one play, because they allowed that one big play, and then that was pretty much it. Russell Wilson with a bomb to a receiver I've never heard of, and it was Stiggers in coverage, and he did get beat. The receiver had a step and a half on him, but Andre Cisco took the worst angle imaginable, and he actually cut in front of Stiggers and made the play almost worse than if he wasn't even on the field. So that was a tough one. And also on that play, no pass rush was generated. Of course, no Quinn Williams, no Jermaine Johnson in this one. Defensive interior, I'm really not too worried about it, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be great, but I think between when Quinnen is back and no Cowart either. So when Quinnen, Cowart, Tufele, Leonard Taylor, that's okay. That's not bad. And then obviously at edge, they'll work Jermaine back slowly. It's really a matter of they need one more dude to show he can win a pass rush rep. That dude 57, just like that. Number 57, right? The dude with the dreads. I didn't know who he was until he got in there and made a play. Had a sack because Clemens, Watts, McGregor, Barron, Weaver. You're just waiting for somebody to show something off the edge, because that is something that might limit this defense a bit. But The coverage and the first team, it's been limited, but in general, besides that play, the first team coverage has been good in the both preseason games, considering the fact that Stiggers is not really a first teamer. Stevens did have a very nice play where he came back on that post, and at the last second he punched the ball out. And that's been the thing that Stevens has to get better at, that all the Ravens fans told us he can't play the ball. He did a really good job. And it seems like from reports, whatever, I'm not at camp, but it seems like from reports, Stiggers has, or not Stevens has had a really nice summer. So the back seven coverage unit, that was just one bad play by Cisco. He's been in the league. He can play a bit. They should be pretty solid. And I think the defensive interior is okay. My question on defense is, you need one more dude who could win an edge rush rep to help you get off the field on third down and make sure the quarterback doesn't have all day to throw. Now, in terms of some other players, Arian Smith, there were some highs and some lows. First play, just little skinny post. Martinez threw a really good ball just right off the chest. No excuses, just brutal drop. But then he comes back, boom, 13-yarder, boom, 18-yarder. And again, a play where he beats the defender Cook, and Brady Cook was dealt a pretty tough hand between the drops and some of the blocking that was happening for him. He hung in there. I'll say this about Brady Cook. He's a tough dude. Brady Cook is a tough kid. I don't know if he's an NFL quarterback, but that's a tough son of a gun. Now, he gives him a chance, right? Arian Smith has to fight back towards the football. It's a tough play on a defender. Defender just grabs Arian Smith with both hands, like rips both of his hands down. So that in a game, 19 times out of 20, that's a 30-yard defensive pass interference. There was another play to Smith where Martinez was kind of high, but a little bit, like his catch radius is kind of small. So it was some highs and some lows with Smith, but you like the fact that after he had that drop, he bounced back with a couple of catches, and he is separating and the speed is apparent, but he's still a bit of work in progress. But I would still like to see more of him and deal with some of those growing pains. Because the receiver, there's some guys that you kind of know what they are. Brandon Smith, to me, I don't see a reason why you would keep Allen Lazard on this team over Brandon Smith. I felt that way for a long time, and the more evidence we get, I just feel stronger and stronger about that. Yeah, it's preseason. Some of it's just wide open, the Giants defense, everything, all those in-breaking routes, those dagger concepts, those drives, the slants, they were just easy pickings for the most part. But hey, man, you only catch what's thrown to you. And Brandon Smith catches what's thrown to him. He's a big, tough, physical dude. He is now 6 for 6 in contested catch opportunities in the last 2 preseasons combined. He's got no drops. And I'm sure if coached up well enough, he should have the physical profile to give you plus blocking. So to me, I think Smith he made the biggest case tonight of anyone who's on the bubble, him and Kene Nwangwu. Kene Nwangwu, I think is going to be the 4th running back. And really, you could tell by the way they're playing him tonight. They played him after Allen. They put him in there with the second teamers instead of Donovan Edwards because they really like Nwangwu as a special teamer. He's been an elite kick returner in the league, not just good, elite kick returner. 4 kick return touchdowns on like under 200 returns. And he was the dude who went down there and batted that ball back on the goal line. So he's a core special teamer. So they were saying, hey man, can you show us anything on offense to at your position of running back to warrant rostering you? And in the previous game, Nwangwu showed nothing. He was very, very pedestrian at running back versus the Packers. But in this game, he was solid. He had 6 carries for 31 yards, and I noticed him have a really nice blitz pickup. So to me, Kene Nwangwu is, if I had to do a 53-man prediction right now, Nwangwu would be on it, and so would Smith for Lazard. Those are the 2 biggest guys who made it a case for themselves in this one. Hey, the Jets might have a punter, and this is the way I'm looking at this season, because I don't know, like we're gonna be freaking out. The Fields went 104. Like, what did we think? Did we think this year was gonna be like the greatest show on turf? I don't know, man. The way I see it is the Jets were bad, truly at 5 things, the 5 tools of football: passing offense, rushing offense, passing defense, rushing defense, special teams. Now, I know they were 10th in total yards allowed on defense, and I know they threw for the same amount of yards as Josh Allen. We have eyes, we have completion percentage over expected, we have yards per attempt, we have DVOA on defense, we have numbers that were invented beyond 1960 and eyeballs to tell us the Jets were bad at all 5 of those things last year. Of course, coaching being the blanket over all of it. Can the Jets be good at 3 of those things this year? Can you go from being good at 0 of those things to being good at 3 of those things this year? And I think the early favorites for 2, rushing offense and special teams. Nick Folk, perfect in the preseason and in camp, it's just been like Nick Folk is money. Every camp report is like Nick Folk, 6 of 6. And Wongwu looks like a good kick returner. McNamara, the dude is a beast. He had 6, unless he had a punt in garbage time that I missed right before I started the stream. He has 6 punts in the preseason, 6 of them inside the 20, 3 of them inside the 10-yard line. He's been perfect. And obviously he must have been very impressive in camp because the Jets have not had a punting competition. They saw Austin McNamara in rookie mini camp, and they were so impressed they cut Thomas Morstead. And since then they have not brought in any competition at punter. Remember at kicker, it was like 2 weeks. It was like a week of Davis and the thicker kicker, and they were like, this ain't gonna work. McNamara has been their dude. So special teams, rushing offense, I think, are the early favorites, and then probably probably something on defense. So can you get good at 3 things? Then you were good at 0 things last year. Would be my question for the Jets if you want to boil it down like that. So and some other roster battles like Corley, he was hanging on by a thread, but he is so gone. It is very, very strange. Top 45 player on Daniel Jeremiah's big board. No medicals, no off the field issues that we know of. Just a straight up good old fashioned bust. Unfortunate. I don't even know if he'll probably be out of the league pretty swiftly. I mean, there are empty names on the depth chart before him. That is a bummer as basically a late second round pick, but it seems like he's gone. I would say Pritchett looks like he's probably going to etch out Gibson as the punt returner. So there's probably one spot up for grabs in the receiver room, coming down to maybe Brandon Smith, Skinner, or Lazard, or maybe they keep 7 and it's Lazard and then it's Skinner and Smith, because Skinner had an amazing touchdown catch at the end. But he's a guy. It's tough because it's like, oh, this guy's playing well, he should make the team. But if he's playing well in the 4th quarter, it kind of tells you the coaches think he's a 3rd, 4th stringer, right? Smith, Pritchett, they're out there in the 2nd quarter. So it's an uphill battle for Skinner, but with the opportunities he's had, he's played very well. He made a nice catch up the sideline in the first game, touchdown catch in this one. He's a long, he's built like Wiz Khalifa. He's a long, lean dude who was calling card when he was drafted was like, this guy's gonna be a core special teamer. So that would kind of be his role. The Irv Charles type of player, but who can actually maybe give you a little bit more receiver than Irv Charles. So Skinner did really well. Donovan Edwards, he had a phenomenal game against the Packers. In this one, 8 carries for only 21 yards. And 1 catch for 7 yards, although that catch could have been a lot bigger. He was open on a quick, a little wheel route and was underthrown by Martinez, I believe. Who, although he had the pick, Martinez, that boneheaded pick, he looks all right. He looks all right. Couple of drops mixed in there in his 12 for 21. He looks okay. Cook, tough, good athlete, but both of those guys are more QB3 material. I don't think Tyrod Taylor has to worry about his job at QB2 once he is healthy. It was nice to see Mason Taylor suit up and play, by the way. Nice catch on that little bootleg. Stone Smart absolutely depleted Abdul Carter. It was awesome. And he caught, both of his targets. Nothing from Ruckert, but Ruckert was out there when Fields was out there both games. So Ruckert's going to be on the team. You know what I mean? Just judging off what they think of him, because what we think of him doesn't matter. It's pretty clear that they have a role for Rucker, and he's going to be on this team. But whatever, if he's tight end 4, I mean, who cares? You know, I think Taylor, Beck, Smart as your top 3 tight ends, and then although maybe not, because they play Rucker before Smart, so they kind of like Rucker as maybe tight end 3. All right, we'll see what happens in the games that matter. With that, but I would like to see Stone Smart, at least if Ruckert's going to be on the team. I would like to see Stone Smart get opportunities before him, because I just see a little bit more potential in Smart already. Defensively now, yeah, I mean, so in terms of who's winning pass rush reps, it's something that you have to rewatch the game. Not a lot stuck out to me besides Kingsley Jonathan, who that's number 57. He did have a nice clean win against the Giants backup left tackle and got a sack. And that's what I've been waiting for. Like, who's going to get a pass rush win off the edge? Who's not Will McDonald, right? And he did. so good for him. That was the Jets' only sack. No, Dean Clark did as well. Dean Clark played a heck of a game. Dean Clark ended up with a pick. He had a pass defended in the end zone, and he had a sack on a blitz. Now, I always forget, is he the son of Ryan Clark? I believe he is. We have 2 Clarks. One of them is Ryan Clark's son. But Dean Clark had an undrafted free agent safety, had a really impressive game. The back end of the defense, the defensive backroom will be very interesting. Stiggers had interception. It was a gift interception, but he was there and he caught it. Jarek Bernard-Converse, who was injured in the first game, dude, every time he steps on the field, he can play. Jarius Monroe has been moved to corner. He was a safety, now he's a corner. And then they got Bump Cooper, who's out there at corner. So between Stiggers, I think, is probably, I don't want to say a lock, but I think he has a leg up right now. And it all maybe depends on if they put A.Z. Thomas on the 4-week IR. Because they're going to do that with a couple of guys. They did it with Carter Warren his rookie year. They were like, we're going to put you on the 4-week IR, and then we'll stash another player. And that way what happens is then 4 weeks into the season, all other teams have their rosters kind of set. So it's less likely that guys are going to get poached, and it's easier to sneak a guy into the practice squad. So if it's not a starter, like A.Z. Thomas wasn't going to start over Stevens, you can maybe afford to stash him, especially if corner is probably the deepest position on the team. So it'll depend on that. But after Stiggers, I don't know what their thoughts are between JBC, Monroe, Bump Cooper, but JBC, to me, just rep for rep in the last 2 preseasons, he's been better than Stiggers to me in coverage. Stiggers is a very physical tackler. He also he's a gunner on special teams. So there's value. I'm not saying cut Stiggers. All I'm saying is, just from one fan's opinion, JBC in coverage, I think, has been better than Stiggers. I think he's been really impressive in coverage. And then the same thing in the back end of the safety room. You have to figure guys like Tony Adams and Malachi Moore, who had a nice tackle for loss on a run play, also completely whiffed on a tackle. Isaiah Oliver are probably your 3 guys who are going to be locks in the safety room. And then from there, it could be Clark. Now that Monroe is a corner who's played safety, Isaiah Oliver's played nickel and safety. So they could go a lot of ways. They could go a lot of ways in that secondary. I don't know who I would put at safety. I might say Clark. This kid Dean Clark, after tonight, might be in there with Cisco, Malachi Moore, and Tony Adams, and Dean Clark would probably be my 4 as a guess. Jamin Davis had a couple of tackles. Derek Nottie was out there at the end of the 3rd quarter, so that's probably not a good sign for him making the team. I think he's on the outside looking in. And Derek Nottie was out there in the 3rd quarter. That is with Quinn Williams and Byron Cowart, your 2 starting defensive tackles, injured and out. So Derek Nottie is, at this point, he's a long shot to make the team. Rashad Weaver was a name that was brought up a lot in the spring in their mini camp. And I've been hoping for him to pop, but just not much, man. I don't know. Did you guys see anybody winning the pass rush reps on the edge that I missed? I don't know if I saw many. Kick returns, Diamond Edwards. They also gave him a shot at. Yeah, it was a tough one for Edwards, man. And I think he had to really show out to make it over in Nwangwu, because Nwangwu is a core special teamer. But Edwards under 3 yards per carry. They gave him some burn at kick returner, 17 yards average kick return. Nwangwu's one return came out for 38. They gave Corley a shot as a kick returner. He had it for 19, Gibson for 23. Corley didn't even play until like the fourth quarter. He played on specials, and I saw him miss a block on specials. That's really all he did. Jamal Pritchett got the punt return work. Didn't really do much, but it just seems like he's their guy. Seems like it's Pritchett's job to lose there. And McNamara was absolutely money again. And appreciate you guys hanging out. If you like the stream, if you want to hit the thumbs up button, that would be cool. Super chat from Chaz Maserati. Appreciate it, man. Not impressed by Brees, and why didn't we play our starters into the half? They need the work. Yeah, it's not something I'm going to freak out about, because as a football fan, you see so many preseasons come and go that, for better or worse. I remember just a week ago we were going to go undefeated, right? After that first drive. So you try not to overreact too much to things in the preseason for positive or for negative. But just like last week, we were praising like, the intensity, the preparation, the physicality that they came out with. And I don't think I noticed any missed tackles with the starters in this one. And in this one, I will say, as a positive from last week, no penalties while the Jets' first teamers were out there. And there were two. So when it was first team versus first team, the Giants were winning in the scoreboard, of course. But 2 penalties on the Giants, no penalties on the Jets. That was cleaned up. But yeah, I think if I'm Glenn, like, to say, oh, you played a series or you didn't, like, see, last week it makes sense to me because they went right down the field. They hit all their passes. They looked crisp. They looked clean. Punched in the end zone. Get off the field. Cool. You did your job. They earned getting off the field. I don't think the first team offense earned getting to go off the field. Like, they should have played more. They need some more. They need some more throws and some more reps. Like, that's the last you're gonna see of the first team offense in a game setting before games that matter. I don't know, man. I think it's like shooting hoops at the park, man. You want to leave on a make. Let's leave on a make. Go have them go out there and leave on a make. Is what I would have preferred the Jets do. Is it the end of the world? No, of course not. But we're just talking about the game that happened. That's all we can talk about so far. They haven't played any games that matter yet. But you can tell, man, they're going to run the ball. This team is going to run the ball a lot. They're going to run the ball a good amount. Are you concerned with Fields' G5 connection? I don't know if I'm concerned. I guess I would say that in the preseason reps we've had so far, it has been bad. Even I rewatched the Packers game, and there was a deep over that Garrett Wilson was wide open on, and Fields didn't throw it to him. Now he hit somebody in the flat, and they picked up some yards, so whatever. And then on the Fields rushing touchdown, he had Garrett Wilson who ran a quick out. It was like third and intermediate. Garrett Wilson runs a quick out beyond the sticks, wide open. Like the corner completely flat-footed. It's an easy pitch and catch for a first down. Now Fields holds it. The offensive line holds up. He makes the guy miss. He runs around. Touchdown, all good and well. But you want to see him just hit that throw, because what if that guy tackles you? What if the offensive line doesn't hold up? In the same way that, like, I was at a training camp practice. Well, only 2 this year, but the one of the ones I went to, Fields threw a pass to Ruckert that was like a little bit high, and it goes right through Ruckert's hands, and Stevens intercepts it. So okay, interception by Fields, but process-wise, that's a good play by the quarterback. And in this case, touchdown run, good result, but process-wise, like, just hit the open throw. And in this one, yeah, there was a screen pass to Garrett that was dirted, and there was a slant that was good defense, but that ball was too far behind Garrett Wilson. The comeback route that was incomplete, I thought was a good throw, um, but was a pass interference that wasn't called. So, am I concerned about that? I don't really know, man. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna wait till the games that matter before I use words like concerned. But those things did happen, right? So we can. That's what the information we have so far. Zach Rosenberg, 2025 lacrosse goalie. Super chat. Thanks, man. Fields has not proven he can throw the ball downfield after 2 preseason games or from the pocket. Only looks at first read, ran when he has guys open. I will push back on the first read part, at least in the first preseason game. There was a little bit more full field football. Look at the shot play. There was a play where they tried to dial up a shot play to Arian Smith, wasn't there. Then there was like a little like a dagger behind it, so you could see Fields look for shot play, lower his eyes to the dagger. That wasn't there, and then that's the one that he checked it down to Beck. Yeah, it requires some good pass protection for that to work, and the offensive line held up. So I don't think it's necessarily that. In this one, so far in the preseason, to me, with Fields, it's just been the accuracy. He dirted a screen pass. He threw one outside to Garrett on a speed out in the first game. He threw one inside to Garrett. The missed pass to Brees in this one, I don't think was his fault because Membu got spun like a top by Thibodeau. And so that's just, it was a dead play, you know. Luckily Fields even got it away, so it was incompletion. But yeah, I mean, look, my thing with Fields is it's not that he hasn't proven that through 2 preseason games. He hasn't proven that through like 45 whatever starts. So we just have to see the regular season and see what he does. Because even if he crushed it in preseason, you'd be like, yes, this is encouraging, but you still have to wait to see the regular season to know if he's fully turned it around. In the same way, you just have to wait and see what he does. Either way, like for better or for worse. They're eventually, once they get into real offense where they're really calling their plays, they're going to have to do some more first down play action passing because they were kind of playing for 3rd and 2, which you can kind of do especially if you're willing to go for it on 4th down and use the QB sneak. That's kind of seems like to be how this offense is gonna go with some shot plays mixed in. The Jets are not ready for the season. I mean, they might not be ready for the season. I don't know, but I can't say that based on preseason. I truly can't. I remember Zach Wilson looking like Jackson Dart tonight, and it's like, oh my gosh, we have our savior. James says, I think that Engstrom is keeping the plays simple for the starters. Basic plays are the consistency. Yeah, that's pretty much how the preseason goes. Creative plays can save. Yeah, they're not going to show their bag, but you can't run Wildcat all day. You got to win basic reps. I think that's a fair assessment. Super chat, another one from Zach. Appreciate it, man. Need to rent a vet wide receiver 2 and tight end 2. For one, it will help Garrett Wilson get open, take pressure off of MT. Who's MT? Who's MT? Don't buy Hall. Will be the wide receiver 2. Want to know what we have in Fields without more weapons, and want to know if he's the guy or not. Well, it's gonna be like to get a wide receiver 2 and a tight end 2, and the season starts in less than 20 days. I think that's probably not gonna happen. To be honest. So the for the most part, the Jets might get some different guys on the back end of their depth chart, like a wide receiver 5, a tight end 4, an edge 4. But those there's no savior coming now. Maybe if the Jets surprise people and they're in the mix towards the trade deadline, maybe they could be aggressive, because receiver is actually a position, unlike tackle or edge rusher. Receiver is a position where, like, you can get a wide receiver 3, a low level starting receiver at the deadline in most years. So, but in August, man, I don't think that solution is coming. And I'll say this about the weapons. I believe this to be true, given relative health to Garrett Wilson and Mason Taylor. I actually don't think it's likely that we're going to look back at this season and say, if we had a different wide receiver 2 other than Josh Reynolds, Fields would have taken off and become the next Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, whatever. But because we didn't, and we had Josh Reynolds, we're picking number 3 in the draft. Now, if 4 offensive linemen get injured, then yes. Because then you can't evaluate anything. Sure. If it turns out Tanner Engstrand is like Nate Hackett 2.0, then yeah. But if you have average offensive coordinating, which I don't know if we do, but if you have that, and you have adequate pass protection, and you have a wide receiver 1, it's kind of enough to know what you're working with a little bit. Because guys that let's talk about guys that we argued about in the past. Sam Darnold. Literally every single offensive lineman we have right now is better at their position than Sam Darnold, I think, ever had at any point in his Jets career. Truly. Olu at left tackle. Simpson, like, who was the better left tackle that Sam had? Who was a better left guard than Simpson? Who was a better center than Tippmann? Who was a better right guard than AVT? Who was a better right tackle than we'll see with Membu. Membu is an unknown. But let's say even Membu is a below average right tackle. That's still better than his rookie year. It's still better than Brandon Shell. And Sam Darnold never had a wide receiver 1. And he had a bottom 3 coach. So I'm sorry, if Sam Darnold had Garrett Wilson in this offensive line, and Breece Hall and Mason Taylor, and an average coach, he'd probably still be a Jet. You know what I mean? Now with Zach, I don't think Zach was ever as had it good as Sam. Like with Sam, to me, I was like, I'm watching a kid who has something, but is being sabotaged. With Zach, I was like, I'm watching a kid who cannot play at this level, and to top it all off, he's getting horrible support. But even with Zach, and a lot of it was injuries, the offensive line. I mean, you got Carter Warren, Max Mitchell, Xavier Newman out there. There was a game against the Chargers where it was like freaking Xavier Newman, Billy Turner, Laken Tomlinson, just Max Mitchell at guard, Billy Turner at right tackle. Though if that is happening, then yes, we won't be able to evaluate Fields. I don't think it's going to be because of wide receiver 2. When you're probably going to have a 2,900, 3,000 yards of passing offense, and probably a third of that is going to go to Garrett Wilson, and another third of that is going to be split between Mason Taylor and running backs. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be because of wide receiver. And it's not saying that Josh Reynolds is great. I just find it unlikely that will be the factor. We harken back to could have had something if it wasn't for Josh Reynolds. Maybe Arian Smith will keep improving. I hear you though. I hear the idea that if you're going to do a quarterback rehabilitation experiment, you should try and spare no expense to make sure he's supported, which is why I think somebody signing somebody like Stevens, the combination of signing Stevens and drafting AZ Thomas with a top 75 pick. Now, if Stevens looks good, and then in 3 years, AZ Thomas is a starter on a rookie deal, who cares? It'll age to be fine. But I think I would have liked one of those, because those are 2 pretty significant resources. I would have liked one of those 2 things to gone to offense. Sign a receiver for $12 million. Would have been a good receiver, like some Darius Slayton receiver. No, but I would have preferred that, or really invest in 2 really good backup offensive linemen. Just to say, hey, even if we get 2 injuries, we're going to be okay at offensive line. and then you throw AZ Thomas or Stiggers or JBC out there across from Sauce and sink or swim. Now, of course, Aaron Glenn, he's got to be more balanced. He's got whatever. That's fine. As a fan, I get what you're saying. I just don't think it's going to be because it never is. It never comes down to that. We never look back at a season and say it would if we had that position, wide receiver 3 and tight end 2. If we had those two positions better, we would have been good. It never comes down to that. It's always coaching, offensive line, and quarterback with this team. And then we argue about it because the quarterback sucked, but then so did the offensive line and then and the coaching. So let's get some good coaching and some good offensive line play. And I don't think wide receiver 2 will be the end of the world. Jets are going to have to bench. Oh, Mason Taylor, tight end. Got it. That's MT. Jets are going to have to bench Fields for Tyrod after 2 games. Well, then Tyrod's going to get hurt in the second quarter, and then you'll see Adrian Martinez. So that's the route you want to go. No, I mean he'll get a longer rope than that. He'll get a longer rope than that. Ruckert. Another chat from Zach. Thanks again, man. Get Winston. Trade with G-Men. I'll tell you what, like if Tyrod's injury is going to cost him to miss regular season games, that's actually a trade that the Jets might explore. Now you're talking like a future 7th round pick or something just for the Giants to dump that salary because for them, I think rolling with Dart and Wilson would probably be fine for them, right? So yeah, if Tyrod does have to miss extended time, that's probably one of the places you'd call. Is Winston, who's he's better than a lot of backups. Malachi Corley, no matter what. Yeah, that's. I was really hoping with the new staff, maybe Corley could have done something. Arian Smith looked good. It's encouraging, right? You saw the whole Smith experience, right? You saw the drop. Um, you saw some limitations in catch radius, but you also saw like a couple of nice catches and weren't just like typical preseason whatever dump off in the flat and run for 12 yards and get out of bounds. Like it was legitimate within the offense, like a deep developing route concepts. He made a couple nice catches and he drew what should have been a defensive pass interference. Now, if Arian Smith was a a second round pick, top of the second round, 39th overall pick, would that be an encouraging body of work? No. But as a 110th pick, yeah, I think he'll take his preseason so far. He's got 4 catches, averaging over 10 yards per reception. And he has 1 drop and 1 maybe kind of should have had it and 1 pass interference call and 1 play where he toasted a corner and Brady Cook overthrew him for what he would have had a chance to catch a touchdown. So I think through 2 games for a 4th round pick, I think it's encouraging. It's an encouraging start for Smith. Yeah, he's been getting open, right? And he's it's not a typical because and you like that he's involved early. He's getting targets. Like The Jets are clearly have a role for him, and they're making it a point to develop him and have him um, be a part of the offense because we've seen guys where it's like, oh, they're inactive. They like he's going to be a part of the offense his rookie year, right? And when you're getting into day three, that's what you want. You don't want to see Denzel Mims inactive, Malachi Corley inactive. I mean, AZ Thomas might be, but he's hurt, and we actually have some decent depth at corner. Like we don't have enough depth at wide receiver for like a fourth round pick to have a red shirt kind of year. And there early signs are that Arian Smith is going to be involved in this offense. He's going to have he will have a higher than average drop rate this year. I Let's not pretend like he's going to go from leading the nation in drops to having Larry Fitzgerald hands. Well, let's also not pretend that he has to have great hands to justify being the 110th pick. Can you get the drop rate to like 7 percent where you're like, yeah, that's higher than you'd like, but it's not debilitating. Would have liked to see Diamond Edwards in quarter two, quarter three versus quarter four. Yes, I just think it comes down to, man, they really like Inwangwu. They really like Inwangwu as a special teamer. So I don't think it's anything wrong with Edwards. It's just they like him, man. Think Fields should have played more. I agree with that. Would like to see Fields run the more run pass option. Yeah, I just think in a preseason game, like they're not going to. I think in a regular season game that 4th and 1, that's probably a QB sneak. It's just I think for risk of injury, maybe they don't want to do a tush push in a preseason game, but you'll see more of that, I'm sure. But I agree. I would have liked to see the first team offense and the first team defense maybe play another series or two. Yeah, it was a very ugly game though. It was as preseason, even on the standard of preseason games, it was pretty ugly for sure. Why not use Corley like San Francisco uses Debo? I mean, it's like why don't Hollywood directors use me the way they use Ryan Gosling? Like I don't, you know what I mean? It's just I don't know what to say. Like I hear you, man. That was the hope when he came out. The Yak King stuff. Um, and now the thing is, it's like a whole new staff, right? Because before it was like, well, Nate Hackett doesn't know what he's doing. So that kind of gave you some plausible deniability. But and this new Jet staff, like they have every motivation to want to keep him on the team because he's under cost control for 3 more years on a position where they don't have a lot of depth. So heading into the year, I think they probably were like, okay, hopefully Corley shows us something, but it seems like he has not. Oh, I'm rewatching this. I'm rewatching the field. So the on the screen pass that was dirted, high snap from Titman. That is one area where Titman. Oh my god! And how is that not pass interference? Um, but Titman, yeah, his snapback, like he is better than Myers just as an offensive lineman. I don't even think it's close. But his snap accuracies, even last year, there wasn't a ton that went over anybody's head. But there were some that was like Rodgers had to do like some this and some that, and Zach Wilson the year before that. So Zach with another super chat. Taylor or Wilson miss time and we'll have no offense. Yeah, Mason Taylor or Garrett Wilson missing time for this offense will be a massive problem. I have no consolation I can give you to that, man. You are correct. There was a lot of pass interference. There were no calls. Yeah, for sure. And on both teams, honestly, until the end there, they finally called one on the Jets. Taylor and Wilson at 100%. We are still bottom five. Bottom five passing offense. We might be now. Not that it's any consolation, but let's remember where the bar is for improvement. Jets scored 24th most points in the NFL last year. They scored the second fewest points of any team that had their starting quarterback for at least 12 games. They were bottom five in completion percentage over expected, yards per attempt, passing DVOA. And they won 5 games. So, and they were dead last in rushing yards. So, yeah. Can we be better? Can we be better in some of those? Maybe. Oh man. This team just needs to suck bad enough when there is like a Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow prospect there. But then again, we wouldn't probably take Jaden Daniels. Tank year. Yeah, but it's not. Like, even if you're rooting for the tank, like, if they wanted to tank, then they should have ate all the dead money for Rodgers in 1 year. Not even signed Fields, just put Terod and Martinez, and once he gets hurt, put Martinez out there. Not signed Stevens. Not even signed, like, Cisco. Trade Breece Hall, trade Quincy Williams, defer draft capital instead of trading up for picks. You know, then maybe they could have tanked, but they didn't. They didn't do that. And I've seen tanking teams. I've seen teams where your number one defensive player is Jordan Jenkins, and your number one offensive weapon is the ghost of Le'Veon Bell, and your best offensive lineman is like either rookie Becton or Brandon Shell or Brian Winters. And even through all that, we didn't even get the number one pick any of those times. Even Zach Wilson's rookie year, where it was like Ryan Griffin is tight end 1. Corey Davis is wide receiver 1. Michael Carter II is running back 1. Alex Lewis is the guard. George Fant is we still even get the number one pick. So it's tough to believe that we're going to get like a top 3 pick this year just because of how it always works out. Corey Davis out of retirement. I say we might win 7-8 games. Yeah, 7. So Vegas has the Jets at 5.5. I would beat that by I'd beat that by a game. I'd say 6.5 to 7. I would bet the over. I wouldn't bet playoffs, but I would bet the over on 5.5. It's a tough slate to start the season though. They're gonna have to you gotta steal one of these games early. You gotta steal really week 1. Like you really gotta find a way to win week 1 because Buffalo's gonna be tough. And if you start 0-2, then it's the fan base is going to be at an all-time low. Seriously, if this team starts 0-2, this fan base, which honestly, it is amazing. Like I know we're negative, I'm negative all the time, but it is truly amazing that there is still a decent amount of like optimism. But I think if this team starts 0-2, that even that will just people will just check out. So find a way to steal week 1, man. It is such an important game for this team. Yeah, of course, the coaches want to win. Like coaches don't want to tank. Yeah, and even speaking of those Jets, those teams are really bad. They didn't even have a kicker who can make kicks. Remember, we went for like 5 years without a kicker who can make kicks in between Myers and Greg Z. So it was like Kyer Vedvik and Zach Wilson or Sam Darnold with Brandon Shell as your best offensive lineman and Jermaine or Javon Curse or whoever as your wide receiver one. And we still never got a number one pick. So we're not getting a number one pick. So that's why I rooted for a tank 1 year in my life. It was the tank for Trevor Lawrence, who's not even that great. Better than what we've had, but still not hasn't lived up to his draft pick yet. And we didn't even get the pick. And we were the worst team ever. We somehow didn't get the pick. So from then on, I vowed to never root for tanking again. Now, keep it real. If it comes down to the end of the year and it's like, hey man, if we lose these last 3 games, we can get the number one pick. Okay, and we're mathematically eliminated. I'll root for some L's. Okay, I will, but let's not at the beginning of the season. I can't talk about tanking at the beginning of a season. I want to have some hope that we can be competitive, that we can win some games, that we could be in the mix post freaking Halloween. Because it sucks, man. It sucks when you're not. It really does. It's such a long season. So no tanking until mathematically eliminated is the rule. Anthony Super Chat, thanks, man. Maybe he isn't showing anything in practice, but when Corley is in these games, just run the ball. So what do you mean by that, man? Are you seeing like some impressive blocking from Corley? Because I'll take your word for it. I haven't gone back and watched his blocking reps in the preseason. Or are you saying when he's in the game, just run the ball because he's no receiving threat? I don't know if you're saying he's a good blocker or if he just can't catch passes. Aaron Glenn said Will McDonald is working with a knee issue, indicated it's nothing serious. Okay. I think they're gonna have to stop playing around and go get a pro wide receiver. Who do you think, man? Who do you think is turning around this wide receiver room? Because I think Gabe Davis's medicals are probably shot. Like, why are Gabe Davis and Amari Cooper still free agents? You know, I don't know. "2022 feels like such a weird season." Yeah, remember Mike White T-shirts? Uh, long time ago. Long time ago. Yeah, Amari Cooper. Okay, if the Jets want to sign Amari Cooper, I'm cool with it. Fine, because maybe he's washed, but maybe he could have some juice. If it's a cheap 1-year deal for Amari Cooper, fine. That's fine by me. And you put whoever on the practice squad, I'm cool with that. I still don't. I mean, sure, do it. Do it. I have a feeling Amari Cooper might be the Dalvin Cook, the 2023 Dalvin Cook of wide receivers, where it's like, look, a year ago he had 1,000 yards, but he's like completely washed. But if they want to take a chance, sure. What does it hurt? All the Jets do is run the ball when he's in. Okay. Yeah. Well, all they do is run the ball, run the ball when anyone's in. Yeah, Corley, it's crazy how much of a crapshoot the draft is. Because again, typically when a guy busts out that bad as a top 65 pick, typically it's there's an injury or a character thing. But he'll probably go off the Jets and onto a practice squad, and then he'll probably be in like the CFL. Honestly, I think it's over for him. I don't know another way to look at it. Like, sell me another version on Corley. I was looking back at Daniel Jeremiah's write up. Daniel Jeremiah sold me on Malachi Corley. He was a big Malachi Corley fan. And I was like, all right, I'm in. Corley is a compact, physical slot receiver with outstanding run after the catch ability. He lives on quick hitters. When he's not running screens or quick hitters, he is very explosive working down the seam. He wasn't asked to run a lot of traditional routes. Yeah, no kidding. But I don't see any physical trait limitations or stiffness that would preclude him from developing a more diverse repertoire. Overall, Corley can have an immediate role as a starting slot receiver next fall. Damn it. Why? Oh, that hurts, man. It hurts because you think about it like, okay, 2 second-round picks on Rodgers. 3rd-round pick to rent Devontae for 10 games. 3rd-round pick to rent Reddick for 10 games. 3rd-round pick for Corley to be inactive for 1 season. Like, those are 5 day 2 picks. Like, imagine if you just got 5 picks and you got to pick any, like, okay, defensive tackle. There's your defensive tackle. There's your receiver 2. There's the tight end 2, an edge rusher, another edge rusher. It's like if we had 5 day 2 picks and we could actually just pick like decent players, there'd be no holes left on the team almost. But that's just, man, and again with this team, that's why with Muji and Glenn, like with a guy like Smith, I'm encouraged with Smith so far because they have to get on base with these freaking picks. If a year from now, Arian Smith is the Jets wide receiver 3, cool. He's a starter. Cool. If 3 years from now, AZ Thomas is even a below average starting corner where it's like, you know what, it's okay enough next to Sauce, or we don't have to spend, because if he's not, if AZ Thomas busts, then you're peeling off another $12 million for your next DJ Reed or Brandon Stevens. Right? It's like, oh, he should be better for a top 7. Okay. Of course, you want every pick to be amazing. But if AZ Thomas is just a below average starting corner that you could live with, and if Arian Smith is a wide receiver 3, that's cool. Malachi Moore, if he's a below average starting safety, where it's like, okay, that spot's okay. Now, obviously, Membu and Taylor, they got to be really good. Membu's got to be like a top 10 player at his position. Taylor has to be a top 15 tight end. But once you get past that, you got to just get on base with some of these picks, because when you do a Corley, it's just such a hole. It's like even if we thought Corley, like if Corley was a solid wide receiver 3, you're like, okay, now we just need a wide receiver 2. Right? Like what if Corley's busts and Smith busts, then you need an entire new wide receiver room. So we got to get on base, man. Corley had some decent numbers last year. I'm just saying, like the back stretch of that Bills game, his legs looked gone. But again, sign Cooper, put Brandon Smith on the practice squad. I'm fine with that. I'd be fine with that if they want to do that. I don't know if Cooper wants to play for the Jets, but I would call him. Why not? JD drafted bust receivers besides Garrett. Yeah, I mean, the previous front office, outside of Garrett, which, okay, like top 15 picks, me and you can hit on top 15 picks. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, wide receiver was probably the worst position that the previous front office evaluated, because you got Mims, 2nd round pick, Corley, basically a late 2nd round pick, Elijah Moore, essentially a late 1st round pick, and then doling out $40 million to Alan Lazard. Corey Davis, I actually thought wasn't a horrible signing. $12 million a year. He just got hurt. Like he was a capable starting receiver, Corey Davis. But even like Mecole Hardman, what was it, $7 million to do nothing, to be inactive? It's been a while. I mean, you go back to Ardarius Stewart, Chad Hansen. Wasn't that in the same draft? Those guys did nothing. Those guys are like Corleys. It was like 2 Corleys. So Smith is already better than like all those guys, almost. Lions fan rooting for Glenn. Appreciate it, man. I've seen a lot of that. Lions fans' love for Coach Glenn. Oh my gosh, Stephen Hill, Devin Smith. This and it's not even like these are disappointments. They are just complete flame out of the league busts. Like Elijah Moore is the best of all those guys I mentioned. At least he's still in the league. What's your expected record for the Jets? Probably 7-10. 7-10, I would say. Dolphins. I don't know. I haven't followed the Dolphins offseason super close, but I don't think the AFC East will have another team over 500 besides the Bills. I think the Jets, Dolphins, and Pats will all be in like the 5 to 8 win range. Jay Tufele back to earth, yeah. Second rounder for Elijah Moore. Yeah, that was a good trade by JD. You know, he cut his losses with what he had, and then we got Joe Tippmann. Although it was really a second, the Jets traded a Moore and a third for a second, so it wasn't really a second round pick. But still, I mean, I'd rather have that than Elijah Moore still be on the Jets. So I'm glad that they made that trade. Huge concern that Fields can't really throw. Um, so far his accuracy has not been the best in the preseason. You know, I'll say this with Fields. His accuracy actually when he pushes the ball down the field, like on throws 15 plus air yards on the field, is probably like NFL average. His accuracy on throws 5 to 15 yards is like bottom 5, right? So that's why in Pittsburgh, their offense when he was in there was essentially run the ball to a running back, Fields run the ball, throw quick games to the flat, or take shots up the sideline. That was their entire offense in Pittsburgh with Fields. Now that may be the best way to work with what you have, but there's a very limited ceiling to that. And I think doing that, it's like, why even sign Fields? Because you're never going to score more than 20, 21 points a game doing that. So you have to demand Fields play full field football and do quarterback stuff, obviously leveraging his legs. Because if you're not going to ask him to do that, you've seen the ceiling of that, the training wheels offense. And maybe it's a higher floor. That's what Pittsburgh wanted because Pittsburgh was like, we have a top 3 defense. We just want to make sure we make the playoffs. But for the Jets, it's giving Fields 30 million guaranteed to do that. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to make him do some more quarterback stuff and live with the variation that comes with that. Yeah, the Dolphins probably have the worst secondary in the NFL. And that's a tough spot to be weak in 2025. Yeah, but the Dolphins losing Ramsey and Holland in the back end of their defense, I think was significant. Why do you think the Steelers did not want Fields? Well, they offered him a contract. Allegedly, the Steelers did not want to guarantee Fields any money in his second year. This is per that. What's that Steelers guy? Andrew, God, that Steelers beat reporter that he like already hates Aaron Rodgers and all the Steelers fans are hating him because of it. I forget his name, but he reported at the time of the signing that the Steelers were cool with 1 year, 20 million for Fields, but they wanted it to be a 1 year thing. And if it didn't work out, they could cut bait. Because with the Jets, Fields is going to be on the team for 2 years. I mean, unless he turns into a complete Tim Tebow pumpkin, are the Jets going to pay Justin Fields 10 million to be on a different team next year, or pay him 20 million to be on the Jets? Probably 20 million to be on the Jets, right? Even if they want to draft a quarterback next year, then they would just 10 more million for Fields to be the bridge is probably what they'll do. So it's almost a 2-year deal. Really, it's a 1-1, but it's basically a 2-year deal. And the Steelers did not want to do that. And then once that was done, they went with Rodgers, who was on a 1-year deal, nothing in the second year. Apparently, they really wanted no part of Russell Wilson back. Yeah, and the Dolphins lost number 4 corner. They lost Ashton Davis was going to be a starting safety. So yeah, it's unfortunate for them. Over under the bye week, we hunt down that one Justin Fields fan account and draw and quarter him. Yeah, the thing about accounts like that is it's very clearly, I don't want to say a child, but I think it's pretty clear that it is somebody under the age of like 21, right? So just keep that in mind. It's clearly a kid, right? On these stan accounts, because that's how kids are these days now. They're fans of, well, the NBA started this, but they're fans of players. Like you play pickup basketball, and I'm old for pickup basketball now. So kids, college kids who are like 10 years younger than me, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm a LeBron fan," or "No, I was a Kobe fan, but now I'm a John Morant fan." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "So if he goes to a different team, you just like a whole new team in a whole new city, New Jersey, new everything?" Yeah, that's crazy to me. I don't understand that. My brain doesn't compute that. Now, there's guys I like. There's guys I'll root for if they on other teams, but that's how it's starting with football too now. It's like I'm a Justin Fields fan. All right. Yeah. And no McDonald in this one. Obviously, no JJ, no Quinnen, no Byron Cowher. So actually, I probably should have mentioned that when talking about the pass rush. That's the entire starting defensive line, right? Quinnen, Cowart, McDonald. Yes, the entire starting defensive line was not out there. So that's probably relevant. That's probably relevant to mention there, Hennessy. Thank you. Membu and Fashanu are trash. Seem to block better. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I didn't have to rewatch to see the full report card on Membu. I know Membu was pretty much perfect in the first preseason game, but Thibodeau got him good. Thibodeau got him pretty good. And I think that those Giants edge rushers are tough. As long as we sack Rodgers multiple times. Yeah, I think for Pittsburgh, signing Rodgers makes sense to try and squeeze whatever he has left out of that arm and a win now team. I don't know if he can make it through a season physically. I think he probably should have been on IR last year when he was limping around after the hits he took versus Denver and Minnesota. But it's not like there's great options out there at quarterback. You know, I don't know. Maybe we should have drafted Jackson Dart. I'm sure people were saying that today. Yeah, but Dean Clark, Dean Clark. Looking good. Yeah, a lot of people liked Dart. Yeah, I think if the Jets drafted Dart in the second round, I would have been cool with it. At 7, I honestly I wouldn't have liked it. Maybe he'll be really good and that'll end up being a stupid take, but I didn't like Dart at 7. I thought him, Milroe, even Sanders to me should have been in play for the Jets in the second round, but there wasn't a QB I felt was worth taking for the Jets at 7. And maybe who knows, maybe Dart will end up being really good. Super chat from C. Thanks, man. I can't remember the last time a preseason loss has gathered this much attention. We are a damaged fan base. Well, to be fair, I can't remember the last time a preseason win last week had so much positivity. And this week, yeah, it's the opposite for sure. We are a damaged fan base. 2 series, come on. Yeah, we got to see what they got in the regular season, you know. Hoping we can end the season feeling pretty good about the coaching staff and the rookie class, and maybe better about Fields than like you did if you didn't like the signing. Like maybe if we could end the year and say and be like, oh, okay, that's why they signed Fields to a cheaper contract. I kind of get it. If we can get people who are like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. They disrespected a legend. Because I still see all those comments too. It's not like we signed Fields in a vacuum. It's like we got rid of Aaron Rodgers for him. Now we can't pass. And it's like, dude, it's already been like twice as long that Aaron Rodgers hasn't been a Jet than he played for the Jets. At some point, there's got to be a statute of limitations, at least until we see regular season evidence that it was a bad decision by the Jets. Because if you think you need Justin Fields to have a bad offense, I contend to you, we watched one last year. The Jets had a horrible offense last year. Now, at the same time, getting rid of Aaron Rodgers wasn't a solution in itself. I'm kind of a quarterback nihilist this offseason. I didn't want to draft any of them at 7. I don't think Rodgers is going to be good in Pittsburgh, and I don't think Fields is going to be particularly that great with the Jets, and they'll probably end up drafting a quarterback for next year. But before you say that's negative or writing off the season or whatever, I do think I'm starting to look at this roster take shape, this offensive line. If the coaching staff can be decent, I think if the Jets do draft a quarterback next year, he'll definitely be in better position to succeed than Darnold, Wilson, right? And that's kind of where I'm looking now. We've been surprised before. We had a little Josh McCown fever dream season where we're fiery, we're spunky. Hopefully we have one of those. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if Arch is going to come out for the draft. Like in terms of talking about specific QB prospects, I can't get there yet. the Jets might draft a quarterback next year in terms of who we're going to get, where we're going to pick. I can't do it yet, man. It's still August. But yeah, I do see that quite a bit. But I'll leave it there. Appreciate you guys hanging out. If you want to hit the thumbs up on your way out, that'd be cool. We'll be talking some Jets football soon.